Ran reminisces about Shinichi and her enjoying the fountain at Tropical Land. A while later, Conan, using his bowtie, calls Ran as Shinichi from a phone booth. Ran asks Shinichi if he really can't find the time to meet her at Tropical Land again, and before Conan can answer, he sees the rest of the detective boys walking by, saying it's no fun doing this without Conan, so Shinichi hangs up before replying to Ran. Conan greets his friends and the detective boys excitedly tell him they have a new riddle and are confident Conan won't be able to figure this out. Conan does so, to their dismay, and they decide to go visit Professor Agasa together. Genta wants to cross the street when the traffic light blinks green, but a police officer stops him, explaining that he should wait because a blinking green light will turn red any second. Conan and his friends decide to wait for the next green light while the police officer goes to the next phone booth to make a call. The traffic light turns green, but just as the detective boys reach the other side of the road, a man with an umbrella pulls out a gun and shoots the police officer. The culprit runs away and Conan chases after him but loses him in the crowd. Conan hurries to the dying officer and asks if he had any idea who shot him. The man gasps, reaches for his notebook and sinks back, dead. The detective boys are taken to police headquarters as witnesses, and they are asked to describe the attacker. This is of little help to anyone because Ayumi, Mitsuhiko, and Genta remember him fundamentally differently. Ayumi claims the culprit was a middle-aged man. Genta says it was a young man with a black umbrella, and Mitsuhiko remembers seeing a woman with a green umbrella. Conan deduces that the culprit's raincoat and umbrella were both a shade of gray, and remembers the umbrella was in their right hand, showing that the culprit was left-handed. A while later a woman finds another police officer, Yoichiro Shiba, murdered in a parking lot. Shiba held his police notebook in his left hand. The police now suspect a serial killer is targeting officers. The following morning, Kagoro calls Inspector Megure and asks about the state of the investigation. Megure abruptly ends the conversation, saying that he is busy. Kagoro thinks the inspector was acting strange. Megure meets Inspector Shiratori and implores him to keep any information about the case strictly confidential. In the evening, Megure, his officers, Conan, Ran, Kagoro, Sonoko, and Eri attend a party for Shiratori's younger sister who recently got married. Kagoro approaches Megure again, thinking the inspector might be more forthcoming when he isn't in the office, but Megure still keeps quiet. Conan thinks Megure must know something confidential. Therefore, Kagoro and he decide to blackmail Detective Takagi into sharing more details about the case, telling him they will inform Detective Sato that Takagi has a crush on her. Takagi panics and informs Conan and Kagoro that the second victim also held his police notebook in his dying moments. At this point, Shiratori arrives and leads Takagi away, saying that this is as far as it goes and the rest is need not to know for Kagoro. Conan deducts that the culprit could be a police officer. Sonoko and Ran chat to Eri about her engagement with Kagoro. At some point in the party, Sato goes to the bathroom and Ran follows her. While they are in the bathroom, there is a sudden blackout. Ran looks for a flashlight when, suddenly, the culprit appears, wielding a transparent umbrella, and fires at her. Sato throws herself in the path of the bullet to protect Ran and collapses on the floor. Ran sees the culprit's face, who quickly realizes that and escapes. Ran frantically runs over to Sato and, at this moment, she notices blood on her hands and faints as well, panicking that she was responsible for Sato getting shot. Sato and Ran are rushed to hospital and their friends and colleagues follow. Megure speaks to the surgeon who performed an emergency operation on Sato. Kagoro asks Megure about Sato and Megure says the surgeon told him a bullet struck close to Sato's heart. She is in critical condition and it is currently only 50% sure that she will survive. While Kagoro and Conan try to process the shocking news, Sonoko, who had been keeping watch on Ran, runs to get them, looking panicked. Ran woke up, but Sonoko says she is acting strange. Dr. Kayasuke Kazato, a psychologist, examines Ran and explains to her family that Ran has retrograde amnesia from the shock. She can't remember anything that happened that day and can't recognize her friends and family members, but she does not seem to have any brain damage. Kagoro presses Megure to finally let him have all the information about the serial killer and Megure relents. He starts off by telling everyone about a surgeon named Tomatsu Jino who was found dead. Police investigated Jino's death. The lead investigator was Chief Inspector Nobukatsu Tamanari. His subordinates were Narasawa, Shiba, and Sato. While on a stakeout, Tamanari had a heart attack but insisted his officers to leave him alone, telling them not to worry. Sato followed Tamanari but could only stay with him as he died. Narasawa and Shiba continued their observation and realized that the son of Chief Superintendent Odajirai, Toshiya, was among their targets. After Tamanari's death, the Jino case was abruptly ruled a suicide. The investigation was reopened after Narasawa and Shiba were killed and Sato was attacked. Conan and Kagoro look after Ran. Conan realizes Ran might have seen the culprit's face and worries that Ran could be the next target. As she is, apart from her amnesia, in good health, Ran is discharged from the hospital. Kagoro and Eri take her home by car. It rained quite a bit during the previous night and there are puddles everywhere. Ran wants to get out of the car, but a puddle on the ground makes her panic. Kagoro covers it and helps her leave the car. He leads Ran upstairs and reintroduces her to his office and their apartment. Ran seems to fixate on a picture of Shinichi on the wall. Kagoro, Eri, and Conan try to help her regain her memory for a while, but to no avail. The following morning, the detective boys visit Ran and declare they are her new bodyguards. AI wistfully ponders if it wouldn't be better if Ran never regained her memory. Ran often looks at the photo of Shinichi with a strange expression and asks Conan why Shinichi seems so familiar to her. Eri arrives and takes her daughter shopping. Conan joins them. While they wait for the metro, the culprit, who secretly follow them, suddenly attacks and pushes Ran onto the rail tracks. Conan just about manages to save Ran from being run over by the incoming metro and they take Ran to the hospital to get examined. Dr. Kazato worries that Ran might now be too scared to regain her memory. Conan throws all his energy into the case and speaks to everyone related to Tomatsu Jino. This gives him the final clue and he now knows who the murderer is. Everyone goes to tropical land in a further attempt to help Ran recover from her amnesia. When they arrive, Ran remembers Shinichi buying them a can of Coca-Cola each and surprising her when he pressed the cold can to her cheek. Takagi leaves for the bathroom and a mascot of the amusement park suddenly starts following Ran. The detective boys chase after the mascot and make it trip. Kagoro tells the mascot to take the headpiece off his costume. It is Makoto Tamanari, the dead chief inspector's son. Kagoro searches Tamanari's pockets and finds a knife, accusing him of planning to kill Ran. Tamanari wants to explain himself, but at that moment, Takagi arrests him. The detective boys celebrate and Kagoro thanks them for saving his daughter's life. He then tells Ran that he is going to join Takagi when he questions Makoto and that Ran should stay at the park and enjoy herself. At the nearest police station, Makoto is finally able to tell his side of the story to Kagoro, Takagi, and 2 other officers. He says he wasn't after Ran but actually wanted to speak to Kagoro because he feared for his life. Because he didn't want to be recognized, he dressed up as the tropical land mascot and he carried the knife for his own protection. The officers realize his story is true and the actual culprit is still out there. Kagoro worries about Ran's safety. At tropical land, everyone watches the nightly costume parade when the culprit takes aim at Ran once again. Professor Agasa protects her and ends up with a small wound as he pushes her aside. Conan rushes to Ran's help and a chase for the culprit begins. Conan's father taught him how to drive a boat in Hawaii. The chase comes to a head in front of an artificial volcano. Conan presents his deductions to the culprit, none other than Kyosuke Kazato, the psychiatrist who treats Ran for her amnesia. Jino and Kazato once worked together as surgeons. During a surgery, Jino, who was drunk, injured Kazato, cutting his hands with a scalpel. Kazato could not use his hands with the precision a surgeon needed and had to abandon his promising career. Kazato, who was left-handed, quit his career and switched to psychiatry. He also tried to retrain himself as a right-hander. Eventually, he decided to get his revenge on Jino and asked him to meet up with him. They got drunk together and Kazato asked Jino if his injury had been an accident. Jino smugly told Kazato that he did it on purpose. Casado, knowing Gino was facing a malpractice lawsuit, killed Gino because he knew the police would rule his death a suicide with this information. When the Gino murder case was reopened years later, Casado killed every officer working on it to ensure his involvement in the death of Gino wouldn't come out. He now wants Ran dead because she clearly saw his face when he shot at Sato. Conan and Ran escape together, sliding through a hole in the ground and run to a lava lake. Ran wonders why Conan keeps protecting her. Conan says, "I love you so much, my darling, more than anything in the world." They suddenly end up at the exact fountain Ran and Shinichi went to on their date so many months ago. Casado catches up with them and tries to shoot Conan. Suddenly, water from the fountain shot up and blocked his vision. When the water started to drop, before he could fire, Conan kicked a can of Coke into his face. Conan went to kick the gun away when suddenly he jumped up and tried to use the knife to kill him. Upon seeing Conan in danger, Ran suddenly snaps out of her amnesia and tells Casado she now remembers everything that happened in the bathroom and that Sato tried to save her life. Then, using the moment of surprise, she disables Casado with a few karate kicks. The police arrive and arrest the serial killer. While they take Casado away, Megure gets a phone call from the hospital. Sato is awake and will fully recover from her surgery. Superintendent Odadjirai wonders who Conan is, and Conan says, "Need not to know, Superintendent, I'm just a boy." Chief Superintendent Odadjirai orders his men to also arrest his son Toshiya. Toshiya was an accomplice of Gino's. He smuggled drugs out of the hospital where Gino worked and sold them. At home, Ran tells Conan how lovely it was of him to help her get her memory back with these exact words, revealing that Kogoro said the same to Eri when he proposed. Conan is horrified that he had the same idea as that stupid old drunkard. Thank you for watching until the end of the video. Remember to like, share and subscribe to support our channel, and don't forget to press the notification bell button to not miss upcoming interesting videos. See you later.